Look, the markets are doing incredible despite the impeachment standoff that we're dealing with in Washington. And Congress right now obviously is in recess, but Democrats are wasting no time. They are defending their push for witnesses in an impeachment trial in the Senate. Let's bring in Pennsylvania Congressman, House Judiciary Committee member, and House Armed Services Committee member, Guy Reschenthaler. Congressman, good morning.
Cheryl, Merry Christmas, and thanks for having me on.
I have to ask you this. You sit back and you look at the markets, and we're discussing the markets this morning, in the middle of what has consumed Washington, which is the battle over impeachment, impeaching President Trump. Your reaction to that?
Well, just a few things. We have to remember that the impeachment fiasco has in part been a distraction from two things. One, the longer that we're talking about impeachment, it means we're not talking about the red-hot Trump economy, so it's a distraction. And also, the more we're talking about impeachment, we're not talking about the Democrats' agenda, which has gone far left. We're not talking about the Green New Deal, which is absolutely ludicrous. We're not talking about giving taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants. We're not talking about their far-left radical agenda. We're not talking about the red-hot Trump economy. We're talking about impeachment.
Well, but I do want to ask you about the criticism against Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, because it's pretty widespread right now. You know, obviously he's pledged to work closely with the White House on the impeachment trial. Maybe not, though, call witnesses at all, which is interesting. You had Senator Murkowski saying that she was disturbed by that idea. I want to get your reaction to Senator Murkowski's comments, which she made to an Alaska TV station.
Sure. Just one thing. With the senator from Alaska, she also blasted Speaker Pelosi. She said that Nancy Pelosi rushed this process through, that she had a political timeline trying to get this to the Senate before Christmas. But the mainstream media is only picking up her criticism of McConnell. So that's number one. Number two, this has been a political hit job from the beginning. And if you want to talk about unfairness, just go back a few months. Why was President Trump not afforded an attorney? Why was he not given the ability to present exculpatory evidence? Why were we as Republicans shut down by Adam Schiff when we were trying to ask questions in those closed-door hearings that literally took place in the basement? So this has been political from the start. And if you want to talk about fairness, think about this. Over 70 Democrats voted to impeach the president before the July phone call, which was the impetus for the articles of impeachment. 17 of the Judiciary Committee members, the Democrat Judiciary Committee members, had already voted to impeach before that phone call. So this has been slanted, it's been unfair, it's been biased, and the only bipartisan votes have been to stop the impeachment inquiry and has been against impeaching the president. So again, this is a political process. Mitch McConnell can work with the president, and if you think that that's unfair, just look at what Adam Schiff did, Chairman Nadler, and Nancy Pelosi.
So, hey, Congressman, do you think the public at this point deserves to hear from Mick Mulvaney and from Ambassador Bolton about what really happened? I mean, that's at the heart of the disagreement with the Senate right now. Do you want to hear what those two people know about this whole incident, or does it not interest you?
Well, there's a whole process for doing that, and the process is just what was used in the Fast and Furious scandal, and that's this. Subpoenas are issued, the executive branch falls back on executive privilege, and that's hashed out in the courts. That was started, but because it didn't fit in with the Democrats' political timeline, they jumped to impeachment. So as a lawyer, I would say this issue is not right, meaning it's not ready to be litigated, it's not ready for a court to decide. And so this process has been skewered from the start because the Democrats have not allowed the three branches of government to work this out amongst themselves.
But do you want to hear from them? Are those two people you want to hear from on this case?
I have the transcript of the phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky, so I don't need somebody's thoughts and feelings and assumptions on that phone call. I've read the actual transcript.
Yeah,
and remember, the transcript shows no quid pro quo. Right. So if we have the primary source document, the transcript, why do we need all these other individuals to talk about their perception of the call? We have the transcript of the call.
Congressman, I congratulate Republicans and yourself for actually sticking together on a message about the unfairness of what went on in the House. I think that the Senate, that Nancy Pelosi basically with Schumer want to kind of convey that same or take that same mantle in dealing with the Senate. Are you sensing amongst your Democrat colleagues in the House any resistance to this idea that Pelosi is holding back the articles of impeachment? Is there any sort of grumbling about that? Because it seems to me that people are really at their wits' end. They think this is an extremely radical thing that she has done.
Well, Cheryl, how would you like to be one of those Democrats that's in a battleground district,
Sure.
meaning that they're Democrats, but President Trump won that district, and they walked the plank for Nancy Pelosi and voted for impeachment, and then Nancy Pelosi doesn't send the articles to the Senate. So walking the plank for them was all for naught. And then they're going to have to turn around and answer for that in the 2020 election when they're just going to get pummeled over their vote to impeach the president when the president won their district. So yes, they should be resentful, but you have to remember, Nancy Pelosi is really not the one in charge of the Democrat Party. The people in charge are the far left radical freshmen, AOC, Tlaib, Omar. They're the ones that are in charge. So those moderate freshmen should be more upset, or those Democrats that are in battleground districts should be more upset with their far left radical wing. And I always say, if you want to know what Nancy Pelosi is going to do tomorrow, just read AOC's tweets today.
Well, we'll have to see about that. I don't know. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, though, a lot to go through with you this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.